It's a story that starts here in San Diego. Dr. Maya Angelou was speaking on the campus, and in the afternoon, and it was really a long time ago because it was the old bookstore. In the afternoon, she was there signing books. And this was someone who I had read her books, I had imagined what her experience had been, and here she was famous and published and adored, and she was right here in the bookstore in San Diego, and I could go to get my book signed. There I stood in the old bookstore, and nobody else was there except herself and me. So I had about 15 minutes with her, just she and I, and this stack of books. And I was very self-conscious because I didn't have a great opinion of what I was capable of doing. And but I had so admired her ability to write and to put her experiences on paper in such a way that people could identify with them. And for me, I had gotten a lot of healing out of the books that she had written. And she engaged me in such a loving way that it was like it just kind of melted down all of my expectations of talking to a famous person. I mean, she was like talking to your auntie. We connected immediately. And so she began to ask me what I was interested in and the kinds of things that I wanted to do. And I've always had this voice, so I think she recognized that, because people say that I sounded like her. And so I think she recognized this tenor in my voice that she had heard before in her own. And so she began to ask me what kinds of things I enjoyed doing, and I told her that I really enjoyed acting, but I had children, I had young children, and I never really thought that I could do much with the acting outside of community theater, which I was involved in. And then she began to brighten up. She was always approachable, but something ignited in her when I told her that I was interested in acting. And she began to encourage me. She began to get me to think about what things I could do more of, even though I have children and a husband and a job and a community, that I was engaged in and felt responsible to and really pretty much tied down by. So she began to just kind of loosen the soil around the roots, as it were, to get me to thinking about what else I could do with my life that was more than what I thought I could do. And so the difference being me being a working housewife and a mother, and her being Dr. Maya Angelou on a book tour, on a speaking tour, having produced movies, and a famous person, and me. So that was the difference that I felt, that I didn't think I could really ever approach anyone like that and have much to say, especially that would fill up 10 or 15 or 20 minutes, which is what we had together. And but the thing that kind of put me in check at that point was I had my books there that I wanted her to sign, and I wanted to give the books that I had, because they were first editions, and I knew that eventually they were going to be worth something, and I wanted to give one to my mother. And so I had her to sign one for me, and then I had her to sign one for my mother, and then I wanted to give one to my aunt, so I asked her if she would sign one for my aunt, and then I had another one, and then she looked at me and she said, "Sister." In other words, come on here, what are you doing? I know what these are worth. So I just went, I kind of choked up, and so I didn't ask her for anything else at that point. I just said thank you, and by that time other people were gathering, and I just took my little books and and left until it was time to go to listen to her speak. But that was an amazing experience to me. This past year in 2015, myself and two colleagues just published a book of poetry that we dedicated to her. She passed away about 2 years ago now, and we got this fabulous portrait of her as the cover, and it's a beautiful book, and it really could do anything like that. I never thought my poetry would ever mean anything enough to anybody to, especially to have other people who want to join with me to yes, yeah. So that's been really exciting. Really exciting. Yeah.
So what was it about the connection that really mattered to you?
That I could have someone I consider to be acclaim, more than just everyday worth, but a person of acclaim, a person of acknowledgement internationally, to encourage me to see something in me that would be worth her spending an extra amount of time to offer me words of encouragement and to attempt to empower me.